He is reporting what he's being told. And for that, kudos. Good for him. I'm not saying that at all. However, this entire offseason, or at least let's say fall camp, Miles has not been at the part where I believe that he has done enough to take over and take that first snap. I don't believe that. If you ask me right now, who is the individual and who is the guy at quarterback that is going to take the first snap against Florida State as of today? That can change Wednesday. That can change as we go on and we continue to go on. So if Wednesday we come out here and we say it's Garrett Nussmeier, then so be it. Because then he did something and he worked himself into a situation where he is the first team quarterback. If I had to pick today, it's Jaden Daniels. There's not a question in my mind where this, I don't even want to call it narrative necessarily. I don't necessarily understand, though, where a narrative or where some of these things are coming from Miles. Guys, we charted Miles Brennan going 2 for 7 in the scrimmage. 0 first downs. Running game couldn't get going. And Jaden was the opposite of that. Look, there is a lot of people who say that he was inaccurate and things like that. Well, was he inaccurate in the spring game or was he inaccurate his entire career? There's two different schools of thought here. But I'm not even going to take the young man's past. I want to take the present. What's going on now? Because we sometimes get so far down the rabbit hole of what happened a season ago, right? Like so down the rabbit hole of, well, he threw 10 interceptions and 10 picks. And then you guys say, well, then he threw 17 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Whatever it may be. Facts are facts. Arizona State got worse and has continuously gotten worse under Herm Edwards. It's not a shot at Herm. The record provides and shows that they've gotten worse under Herm Edwards. Arizona State has been an issue. I hear constantly, too, of the past of Jaden Daniels. Oh, well, what about the kids that did something to his locker? You mean like Trevez Moore, who got kicked off of LSU's team and personally sent us a very, very rude DM when we had reported so many years ago that he got suspended for the first game against Georgia Southern in the 2019 team. So that young man, because the only thing that I see is people going around with him at Topgolf saying that that's, I'm quoting, my dog. On the field in this last scrimmage, whether you like it, love it, or hate it, Jaden Daniels was accurate. There were a couple of passes under pressure that he let sail. He's not perfect. Still went 10 of 12. And quite honestly, the bad pass to Cole Taylor across the middle, I thought should and could have been caught. Because you know who did catch that? Mason Taylor. A couple of plays later. If the games were to start today, Jaden Daniels is your quarterback. Wednesday, it might be Nussmeier. I have no idea what the future holds. Nuss has a very high ceiling. A very, very high ceiling. What I do worry about him and will continue to worry about him is when the game is on the line in 3rd and 7, do you make the right call and the right throw? We'll see. We will see if he makes that right decision. But to say Jaden Daniels has been inaccurate in the practices and the things that we have seen is not only wrong, I don't want to say it's a bias to what the young man is doing to put him in a negative light, but there is absolutely 0% way that you can say that he was highly inaccurate Thursday in that scrimmage. His coaching staff and his team got worse around him. I would challenge anyone. Hey, everybody in here, do me a favor. If you've watched more than 2 games of Jaden Daniels' career, meaning you've gone back since he's been at LSU, give me a thumbs up in the chat. And I'm not talking about small little highlights. I'm talking about you actually went and watched him play. Put a thumb inside the comment. Assume, and look, here's something interesting, too, that I don't think a lot of us have talked about. When we're out of the scrimmage Wednesday, and they call for the first team in the scrimmage, and the first quarterback runs out there, say it is Jaden, then what? Then what? If it's Nussmeier, then what? Because I do think we're coming to a scenario where there's a high probability that we might be playing two quarterbacks, and we're making a big deal out of who's going to be the guy that runs out there first. There is a very strong possibility that we're making a bigger deal of who's going to take the first snap as LSU starter. Meanwhile, when we sit here 13 weeks from now, we're like, yeah, man, we ran a two quarterback system and somehow we won games. That's how I feel about it. I am fully on the camp that I think Nussmeier has improved. I think so. Let's talk about Nuss. And we'll be breaking all this down and putting it in a segment. So we've talked on Jaden Daniels. Now let's talk on Nussmeier, because over this last week, he's probably the quarterback who has the most potential to start, but we haven't talked about at all because we haven't seen him a lot. I think he has improved. Can he keep the ball out of the other team's hands? Pause. But can he keep his balls and the ball in LSU's possession out of the hands of the other team? If he can do that, he's going to be a good quarterback. And I can fully see him being the guy that starts. But I do wonder what happens when you're out for a little while. How does the timing work? Can you just pop back in there and the timing is unaffected? But they have to some time to make that up. I think Wednesday of anybody in this scrimmage Wednesday, he probably has the biggest day of anyone to try to either get back to where Jaden is or surpass him.